come. I would love to see it.
All right, recording is started. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, I never know how many people are going to feel like coming in person or not. So.
You know, Rabbi, since it's being recorded, we can then show it at another time at a program.
Sure.
Yes, yes, we could. All right, it's just about 4 minutes and we'll rock and roll.
I think Megan spoke on what's JNF Future call once. Did you, Megan? I think you did. I think I've met her. Yeah.
I did.
You did, right? Yeah, I thought I did. Thought I recognized you. You know, Melissa had a baby boy yesterday.
Oh,
I
that's
saw it on Facebook. I'm so happy for her.
Yeah,
Because I know these last few weeks were really hard for her.
it was.
So at my Rosenthal.
Hello? Hello?
I'm not sure what that is on front of the screen there.
So at my Rosenthal.
Hi, Meyer. Hello? Okay, terrific. All right, see you. Drive carefully.
Are you seeing? People are.
Yeah. I have been signed out. Okay. There, is that better? Whoop.
You have like a gray screen over.
I know.
Oh,
All right. So I guess we can get started, right? Got some folks here. We got some folks in person. I want to just sign on. I'm gonna hang out with you guys. So, what if I assign myself as co-host? Yeah, I'll just make myself host down there. Make host.
Can you see this?
Hey, there's Barry. All right, hello. There we go. Hi, Barry, what's going on? Okay, we got a nice group. Hey, Mike. All right, we have folks from the shul, we have folks from other synagogues, and because Israel is the project of the entire Jewish people. And what could be better? And our partners and our leaders in this exciting, the project of Am Yisrael is the Jewish National Fund, right? I mean, who more? We have been donating. It has become part of our culture, part of our life. We've been donating to Jewish National Fund for simchas and for sad events. And it is so exciting to hear about the awesome things that the JNF is doing. So Sheila, would you like to introduce our speakers?
Yes, I would. Okay, I'd like to first introduce Tamar Gil, coming to us from Israel.
Oh, you're watching that now.
Can you hear me?
Tamar, you with us?
Yes.
Okay. Tamar is a very community-minded woman who joined Eretz an NGO that improves the quality of life in cities in Israel's north and south, thereby attracting and retaining talented young individuals by ensuring that there is quality employment and cultural renaissance. As Deputy Director of Eretz Tamar promotes community resilience in Israel's Galilee region and the Negev Desert by encouraging civic activism and the creation of businesses that have social impact. Gil leads the partnership between Eretz Jewish National Funds USA, and the Lauder Employment Center, which provides comprehensive career services, guidance, and resources to college alumni and the general Negev population. So welcome, and let us hear all about the exciting things you are doing. Our next speaker will be Joseph Wilson. Joseph is very active and dedicated to carrying out JNF USA's mission. He serves as the chair of the Board of Governors of the Alexander Muss High School in Israel, which is a JNF USA partner organization, and is president and is the first vice president of the JNF USA National Committee. And he is chair of the executive committee of the Beersheba World Zionist Village, which we're going to hear about today, a wonderful, exciting project that JNF is involved with. So thank you, two wonderful speakers. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thanks for having us.
We look forward to hearing what you have to tell us.
You can't keep muting me. Stop muting me, guys. Anyway, yes, Eretz Ir is the pronunciation. Is that correct? Eretz Ir, which means land and city. Yofi, thank you very much, Sheila. Sheila is a member of the Adas Shalom's Israel Engagement Committee, and this is being brought to us by Adas Shalom's Israel Engagement Committee, but also as a part of the New Jersey Committee for Adult Synagogue Education, which is a consortium of a whole bunch of synagogues here in northern New Jersey that are getting together and sharing programming resources. So I want to thank members of other synagogues, and we look forward to taking part in the stuff that you guys put up. And welcome to the stuff that we're putting up. And let's all join forces for certainly for Israel, but for the Jewish community here in northern New Jersey as well. So thank you again, Sheila. Yesher koach. Tamar, are you our speaker?
I am, and we said that we will start with a short video, Rabbi.
Right. Okay. Hold on one second. I'm going to bring the video up.
Sorry to have to schlep.
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good. All right. So this is a YouTube video that JNF has put up, and it's come on, JNF. One, two. All right. 1 second. I will share it momentarily. I switched computers, and that's so hopefully it will come up quickly. Speak from Hong Kong. All right, hold on. So JNF, good life in the Negev. Good life in the right? Was the Negev?
And while the rabbi's putting that up, let me just thank everyone for joining us here today. Appreciate the kind introductions. What you're about to see, the opening video, is just a little bit of background about Beersheba itself. Tamar and I, of course, are going to speak about Beersheba, what Tamar is doing, which is just transformative, and the work she does and her group does, and the partnership with JNF is just a wonderful partnership to help transform Beersheba. And what you're going to see is a little bit of background, and then Tamar and I will speak about Beersheba and then the World Zionist Village itself. So thank you, Rabbi. Here we go.
My name is Manucha Sadowitz. I live here in Beersheba. Beersheba is a thriving city with so much to offer young families, and I am privileged to live here for 7 years already and be raising 3 kids here.
My name is Gabe Axel. I'm originally from Chicago, and it's a bit of an interesting story is how I got to where I am today, sitting in the beautiful sun in Beersheba. We've seen incredible development of the Negev and of Beersheba specifically.
My name is Naftali Aklum. I was born in Ethiopia in 1979, and I grew up in Israel, in Beersheba. For the young generation today in Israel, the Ethiopian Jews, they don't have to go to the United States or to Jamaica. They can find their heroes here in Israel.
What's the best city in the whole world?
Israel.
No, that's the best country. What's the best city?
So you want us to move to Beersheba, huh? That's pretty.
Yeah.
Look pretty tempting. I gotta say, look beautiful.
I'll invite
All
you
right.
guys for coffee.
Thank you.
Everyone's invited. So thank you very much, Rabbi, and thank you, Joe, and thank you, everyone. I will speak a little bit about Beersheba, where it is, what it used to be and what it is today, and what we believe it is going to be tomorrow, a lot thanks to partnerships and huge innovators like Jewish National Fund. And then I would like us to dive more into one of the most exciting projects today, and that is the World Zionist Village, which Joe will speak about. So a little bit of background. The Beersheba is the city, the heart of the Negev Desert, which is the southern 60% of the land of Israel. That is how big the Negev is. But even though it is such a huge part of the country, only about 10 to 12% of the population lives in Beersheba, in the Negev. And 70% of Israel today lives in the area between Haifa and Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. So really, there is very little, there's a very small population here. Few people believe that Beersheba in the Negev should be, 60% of the economy of Israel, or 60% of the culture of Israel, and 60% of the population of Israel. How can we get that to happen? That is the question that JNF is all about. In the 1950s, when the country was just beginning to form, David Ben-Gurion, our first prime minister, had a vision for the Negev. He believed that the Jewish people will be tested in the Negev because he saw the potential of this beautiful, beautiful area. And he brought hundreds of thousands of immigrants from all across to settle the Negev in small towns and to make the Negev bloom. But the other thing that he needed to take care of was employment. And in order for that to happen, he established many factories and a lot of industry started to sprout. And that is how the Negev got started and more towns started to grow. But still, the heart of Israel is still in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem and in Haifa. And today we need to have more and more people move to the Negev because it is just too crowded and overpriced in the center of the country. Demographically, we can't continue to be focused over there. We have to make sure that there's more and more people moving to the south. The Israeli government is doing a lot for that to happen. There is a new cyber park opening up here in the Negev in Beersheba. The IDF is moving all of its bases to the south, and very soon the IDF intelligence unit will also open up in the south, right next to the Ben Gurion University here in the Negev and right next to the cyber park. So really it's going to be a hub of smart people, young innovators of Israel's startup nation. I have to say that Jewish National Fund has a lot to do with this development. Being able to bring the IDF south, being able to establish such a cyber park, things like that have to start with communities, with more housing options, with better infrastructure. We have to make sure that there are services for people with special needs, if that's what the families need in order to move to the south. We have to make sure that there's good schools, if that's what the families need. And definitely, we have to make sure that there are medical centers in the south, in the Negev, in order for more families to stay here. And that is what Blueprint Negev is all about. Blueprint Negev is Jewish National Fund's plan to bring and to keep 500,000 Israelis in the Negev by investing in all spheres of life. As I said, in housing and in industry and in factories and in infrastructure and really in water solutions, everything that an Israeli may need in order to move south, and it's working. And more young adults are choosing to stay here and to build their families here. The Lauder Employment Center in which I work is Jewish National Fund's employment development arm in the Negev. Our job is to keep young academics living here, getting good job opportunities in order for them to not move to Tel Aviv and think that only there a career can happen. Just like you can have industry in many different cities in the United States, you can have a great tech industry in many cities all across Israel, and definitely in the cyber capital, Beersheba. And so what the Lauder Employment Center is doing is working with 7 institutions for higher education. We're working with about 100 high-tech cyber companies in the South in order to connect them with leading college graduates who can get a good job for them. That way, we're making sure that this incredible human capital stays here in the Negev. We've worked with 3,000 young adults so far in the 6 years that we've been operational, getting them good quality jobs here. And 95% of the graduates of our internship programs still live in the Negev because they found a good job in the Negev. And this is the future for the state of Israel. I think that this is a good moment to maybe stop and hear from Joe about what we're doing, what Jewish National Fund is doing to change the image of the Negev, also through programs such as the Zionist Education and Technology Campus, and how that kind of all fits into this big picture of development in the Negev and why so many young adults are now staying here compared to 10 years ago and 20 years ago. So Joe, if you want to take it from here.
Sure, thank you very much, Tamar. And as Tamar said, at Jewish National Fund, what we try to do is identify the needs Israel has and bring our expertise and resources to bear to help Israel. And if I take a step back, I mean, what is Jewish National Fund? We're the original Zionist organization. Jewish National Fund was created in 1901 by Theodor Herzl at the Fifth Zionist Congress. So we're 120 years old, always focused and laser focused on one thing: the development of Israel as the homeland for the Jewish people. And just because Israel is now a successful country, a beautiful country, a thriving country that we all now want to go and visit as tourists, as we would Paris, London, or anywhere else, Israel still needs our help as Zionists. And that's what Jewish National Fund is all about. We identify the problems or the issues, let's say, where we can help Israel and ensure that Zionist dream continues. And some of the things tomorrow's talked about are emblematic of what we do. And if we look at the Negev and Beersheba, for example, 15, 20 years ago, we identified some of the issues where we thought we could help Israel. And we saw back then what you're all probably reading about now if you're following the news in Israel about the crisis in housing, the crisis of the young folks staying in Israel and be able to afford to stay in Israel. So we worked to expand opportunities to live and thrive in what is known as the periphery areas, the Negev and also the Galil. But today we're here to speak about the Negev. And what we identified is that unless Beersheba was a thriving community, the Negev couldn't thrive because Beersheba is the capital of the Negev. Just a couple of quick points. 15 years ago, Beersheba was losing 3% of its population every year. Notwithstanding that Ben Gurion University, one of the top universities in the world, is located there. 3% of population was leaving every year, and virtually all the students from Ben Gurion were choosing to leave. Fast forward to today, Beersheba is the fastest growing city in Israel. The housing prices in Beersheba, and this is a good thing and a bad thing, is the fastest growing, increasing housing prices in Israel, growing faster than in Tel Aviv. Now, the prices are still much lower in Tel Aviv, and we're also working to address that. But we've helped turn Beersheba around. And let me just show you a couple of quick slides, which I think will be emblematic of what we've tried to do in Beersheba, which will also lead to what we're doing with the World Zionist Village. Assuming I know what I'm doing here. Can you all see my?
Yes.
Great. Well, what I'd like to do is just very quickly give you a little bit of Beersheba then and now, from where Jewish National Fund started 15, 20 years ago to where we are now. And a quick quote from our Maretz. The Beersheba River, and no one knows there's actually a river going through Beersheba, it's mainly a dry river bed, but it looked like a vision from an apocalypse. Piled garbage sat on remains of the dry riverbed from which land had been illegally dredged for construction. Sewage from neighboring towns had oozed alongside. Sounds beautiful and gorgeous, right? And that's what it looked like. That's what the riverbed in Beersheba looked like. That's what it looks like now. 15 years ago, what you can see in the background was one of the few apartments which overlooked the Riverwalk. We came in, we cleaned it up, and it is now the largest Riverwalk in Israel. It's longer than the San Antonio Riverwalk. And the park that we've created along this riverbed is now bigger than Central Park. And you can see the high rises that have now been built overlooking the Riverwalk, which now no longer face away from the Riverwalk, but now all view the dry riverbed because it's a gorgeous park, bringing people to Beersheba to party, to have fun. We've also built in Beersheba because a city needs more than just infrastructure. It needs lives and livelihood and fun. What we built in Beersheba is the largest outdoor amphitheater in Israel. Jewish National Fund realized that for Beersheba to be successful, people had to have fun. Beersheba had to be a destination. The largest outdoor amphitheater is now in Beersheba, and people come from all over the world to perform there. In addition, what we built was a reservoir, which also can be used for aquatic activities. And there's a restaurant on the riverbed. This is all along the river park, which leads us to the World Zionist Village. And I'm going to give you a little taste of what this is and then come back to it. Because what we're building now in Beersheba, the next stage of our partnership with Beersheba, is a second campus and more for the Alexander Muss High School in Israel. And let me just tell you a little bit about the Alexander Muss High School in Israel. I suspect many of you know of it, maybe even had children or grandchildren go. The Alexander Muss High School in Israel is a high school for children from principally America, but from around the world, to go for anywhere from 8 weeks to a semester and study during generally their junior year in Israel and learn not only their secular studies, but about our 4,000 year history as a people, and learn it where it happened and see it happen. And the beauty of the Alexander Muss High School is that when students go to Alexander Muss, for whether it's an 8-week program or a semester program, we track their secular studies. When students come, it can be Mandarin Chinese, bioastrophysics, or other things that I can't even pronounce. We will hire a teacher to ensure that student's curriculum is tracked identically to what the curriculum would have been had they stayed in the US in their home classroom. But in addition, we take these students and we teach them Jewish history by going to the sites where it happened. We call it experiential learning, so that when they learn about a key moment in Jewish history that happened where our history lies in the land of Israel, they're there seeing it and living it as our teachers teach them. There can be no more impactful way of learning than the Alexander Muss experiential learning. And I know it because 2 of my children went there, which is what drew me to become so involved. And what drew me on behalf of JNF to work with Alexander Muss, so that eventually we acquired the Alexander Muss High School in Israel. And I was chair of the due diligence committee at JNF, deciding whether we should acquire it and make it a subsidiary of JNF. And because I felt so strongly, the board of JNF said to me, we all agree, but if we're going to do it, it's yours. So I became the first chair of the Alexander Muss High School after we acquired it 8 years ago. And right now we have a problem at the Alexander Muss High School, but it's a problem every business or school would love to have. When we took over at the Alexander Muss High School 8 years ago, we were somewhere around 700 students a year. Putting aside COVID, of course, and pre-COVID, and now coming out of COVID, we're looking to be about 1,300 students a year at our campus at Hod Sharon. It's a great achievement. We're incredibly proud of it. But with every achievement comes a problem. And our problem, we're at capacity. And shame on us if we can't continue our dream and goal of creating the next generation of Jewish leaders, Jewish communal leaders, and strong Zionists who are going to be supportive of the state of Israel. So we decided, what can we do? And when we looked to create a second campus, we naturally thought of the Negev. Because part of, if you know our Jewish history, a lot of it comes through the Negev. That's where Moses and the Jewish people came. That's where a lot of our history lies. We're desert people. We may have all grown up in and around New York, at least for this community here today, and I'm one of you. But that's not where our history lies. It lies in the desert. That's where we are. So we're going to move to the desert. And working with the Beersheba municipality, they learned about our dreams, and they came to us and offered to give us 20 acres to build a second campus. And what we began thinking is, if we're going to be building a second campus for the Alexander Muss High School, shame on us if that's all we do. We may be able to, and we will, eventually grow to 5,000 students a year by having the second campus. But we also realized there's a huge opportunity for the continued Zionist education that we all could use. We all have some background in it. That's why you're all here today. But the need and the desire for what we offer at the Alexander Muss High School is much broader than just students. So at the campus, our goal is to have a conference center and a hotel-like residence for synagogue groups such as you. When you come to Israel to spend a day or 2 days on our campus, have our educators work with you, our Muss educators, go with you, be there with you, teach you to instill that love of Israel that we know we instill in our students, to adults. We're going to have programs for gap year students who just graduate high school before they go to college. We're also planning on having a post-college internship program. As Tamar mentioned, Beersheba is becoming one of the cyber and technology hubs of the world. Within walking distance of the campus that I showed you, and that's just a visualization of it, Dell is there, Microsoft is there, Intel is there, Wix is there. We've spoken with these companies. They would love to have American students come post-college for a year or two as an internship. And while they're there, also participate in the Mus Magic and instill that love of Zionism. So that's what we're doing in the Negev. That's what the World Zionist Village is going to be. We're going to be teaching 5,000 high school students a year, hundreds and thousands of adults every year, coming through, learning and participating in the Mus Magic, but really instilling the love of Zionism. We're just starting this project. It's a $300 million project. We've only just begun our true fundraising, and we're already approaching about $50 million of that without really going incredibly broad. So we know it can work. We know it's going to work. And in 5 years, I ask you all to join me when we have the ribbon cutting, because I know that with your help and all of us working together, we can ensure the future of the Jewish people. Because 20 or 50 years from now, our children and grandchildren are going to look back on this and thank us, because this is going to be the center, worldwide center for Zionist education, where people are going to come from all over the world to learn and continue our love of Israel. So thank you very much. Tomorrow, let me turn it back over to you.
Thank you very, very much, Joe. I have to say, this is incredibly inspiring, and I have to say that my personal favorite part of all of this program is how you are going to engage so many young adults in the United States. In the last few years, I've spoken to many young graduates, people who came here on different missions, people who I meet, Jewish JNF future young adults in the States. And I hear how much young adults today over there are looking for new ways to connect to Israel, because just saying that it is the Jewish land isn't enough anymore. People from my generation and under are looking for the social impact, the social change that they can be a part of, learning and connecting with Israelis, and also having their Israel experience also connect to their careers. Because I mean, I think that we're younger and younger, we're going into the career world now. The job market is now much more fluid. And so we can do a lot by partnering across these nations. So really, I think that, I think that the World Zionist Village is going to create a new generation of ambassadors for Israel.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, there's no doubt about that, Tamar. I couldn't agree with you more. And let me actually throw that in some ways that back at you, because the work that you're doing with Eretz and the Louder Employment Institute, it's such an integral part of what we have to do together. So I want to thank you for everything you're doing. Why don't you describe what you're doing to ensure that both Americans as well as Israelis are working together for just the reasons you described?
Sure.
Could I throw in a question before we go? I have a daughter who just graduated from the architecture program at Tel Aviv University. And I've suggested to her, like, how about moving south, and, they could probably use architects, and she's like, are you kidding? Only Tel Aviv, only Tel Aviv. How can we, what do I say back?
Well, let me address that real quickly. Tomorrow, let me take a first stab at that. But then I'm going to ask you to follow up. Interesting you said that, because that is clearly, I'm assuming your daughter made Aliyah or moved there from the States. Because clearly that was the view even of Israelis. But one thing we're doing at Jewish National Fund, and Tamar referred to this, is our housing initiative. We have a housing fund, which its goal is to help communities in the Negev and the Galil build more houses so people can move there. And when we first told Israelis we were doing this in Negev, They said, you're nuts, you're Meshuggah. No one wants to go there. Well, contrary to what we Americans in particular think, but now even Israelis are coming around, there's not enough housing for everyone who wants to move to the Negev. Think about that. There's a waiting list for houses to move to the Negev. Israelis are now getting it. And Tamar, why don't you talk about, for example, the jobs fair that was held in Tel Aviv to get people to move to Beersheba and what happened with that?
So before I get into the job fairs, Joe, if I may, I have to say what I would say to your daughter is pretty much what I would say to myself when I was 26. When I was 26, I moved to Tel Aviv. I'm from Jerusalem, and I moved to Tel Aviv because that's where I thought that my future will be, because if I don't know what I want to do, if I'm looking for a boyfriend, if I'm looking for a life, I should probably go to Tel Aviv because that's where life is in Israel. By the way, when I was in one of my visits to the United States, I sat with the commissioner for employment in Albany for the state of New York. And the exact same things our young adults are saying in Albany about New York City. Everyone's moving there because that's where the future is, that's where life should be. And I happened to start an MBA program in Beersheba University at the time. And I said, just like I assume your daughter would say, not moving there, there's nothing there, it's just dust and dust. Again, I'm 26 and I was 26 and I had no idea what Beersheba was. And only when I came here to start to go to school here, and I would take the train back and forth a few times a week, only when that happened did I start to see Beersheba for what it was. So the first thing I tell your daughter is come to Beersheba. There are incredible tours, art, pubs, things to do here that she can have just a fun day. First of all, don't even try to get her to move here. Get her to spend some time here to see Beersheba. That's the first thing. When I started to do that, I started to understand how incredibly exciting it is, how much it's not Tel Aviv. It is still thirsty for entrepreneurs, for young adults, for this buzz that we see around us over here in Beersheba. And I fell in love. I fell in love with the place and I fell in love with the people. And that's something that Tel Aviv can't offer anymore. It's already saturated, if I will call it that. And I'll give another example from a different direction. Dell, the high-tech giant, has 4 different branches in Israel, 3 of them in the center and 1 in Beersheba. The highest retention rate of employees is in Beersheba, because Beersheba is more than just a place to live, it's a community. People connect to Beersheba and to the people of Beersheba in a different way when they live here than if they live and connect to communities in other places. And I think that is the sell. And I think that for young adults, just like I was saying to Joe about American young adults, we're looking for something else now. We're looking for a sense of belonging. We're looking for a community. We're looking for a place that we can be social change agents in. And I think that Beersheba really offers that to many, many Israelis, and you can see it. So in just the last job fair, we had 33 companies coming in, and we had 12,000 young adults coming in 3 days of job opportunities upon job opportunities upon job opportunities that we were offering all of these young adults come and work in the Negev. In the 3 days of this conference, it was on Zoom because of COVID this last March. In just these 3 days, we had over 200 job applications that were sent because so many people wanted to get the jobs here in Beersheba. So things are starting to change. We just need to kind of nudge them a little bit. We need to change perceptions a little bit. And this is also what we're going to do in partnership with the Zionist Village. If what we've been focusing on is young adults here in the Negev, how do we keep them here? How do we make sure that they get good job opportunities? How do we get Tel Avivians to come here? I want to do the same thing with young adults from abroad. Come to Israel, not just to see the Dead Sea in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Come experience the cyber capital. Come live here, come work here, come travel here and just, go on backpacking on Shabbatot and really experience differently. So what the Louder Employment Center is doing in partnership with the campus is building these internship programs. These are long-term, between 6 months and a year and a half of an internship, where all of these college graduates who went to the leading schools, who were really just starting now their careers, can come and do it in Israel, because we have global companies here in tech, and everyone can start their careers from here. And during these experiences of internships, we're also going to get them to meet the Israelis. And every Shabbat, a local community member will invite. There's no one who will not get an invitation for a Shabbat dinner. There's no one who will not go indoors. So I just think it's about changing perceptions. So that's, I think that if I had to say, the whole Beersheba challenge today, or opportunity, and the same goes with the Zionist Village, about changing the way that people see Beersheba. Come here, visit, move here. You'll want to by the end of your program. And speaking of the end of the program, Joe, can you talk a little bit about timing for building the Beersheba campus, the Zionist Village?
What we're hoping is about a year from now, give or take a few months, because it is Israel, and Israel, as many of you know, has its own timelines and ways of doing things. We're hoping to start breaking ground in about a year. So in 3 to 4 years from now, we're expecting to have our first ribbon cutting, and we're planning on doing this in a very careful, methodical fashion. We don't necessarily need to build the entire campus at once, but we certainly do need our anchor tenant, the Muss School. Because if we don't do that for Muss, as I said, shame on us. We have this demand and thirst. We know it's there. Muss works. In fact, we think the demand's only going to increase more, because as many of you may know, there's now a push for high school students to do some term abroad for their college application process. And what we find, and we have statistics to back it up, and I can send them to anyone who's interested, the kids who come home from a Muss experience are better prepared for college, because they've had a little bit of taste of college. So they know how to handle the work. They know how to handle the living situation, because we help them, we teach them. And college counselors know about Muss, because we're going on to doing this for 50 years. So getting back to where your question was, Tamar, we're hoping in about 3 to 4 years to open the campus for Muss, and then roll it out for the adult education, the internships from there.
Wonderful. Well, Joe, maybe we can take some questions. If,
Yeah, that'd be great.
Rabbi, if you want to maybe kind of facilitate.
Come on, there's a synagogue group. You all have questions. We know that.
You can also, if you're online, you can write your questions in the chat, and I can read them out if you would rather that. Or you can just unmute and ask a question.
Well, first of all, let me thank, I don't have my reading glasses on. Michael, who said that his son Lewis studied at Alexander Muss as a junior, loved it, very impressed. He had to leave because of COVID. I'm so sorry. Oh yeah, that March.
Right.
Joe, I can also see that Sheldon wants to ask a question.
Sure.
Calling Michelle.
Sheldon?
Hi. My question is, what's the weather like in Beersheba?
What day of the week, or what month are you talking about, Sheldon?
Well, it's better than Tel Aviv. It's better than Tel Aviv. It's not as good as Jerusalem. It is hot and dry, which I prefer to Tel Aviv's hot and humid. Specifically, Israel has a sandstorm in the last 2 days. So obviously Beersheba is worse. Just hot and dry, classic desert. Cool evenings, perfect for the summer.
Yeah, people, I'm not sure everyone really understands sometimes when I talk to them about Beersheba, they say it's so far. Well, let's start with the premise that all of Israel is only about the size of New Jersey.
Yeah.
So going from Tel Aviv to Beersheba is like going from Newark down to maybe Trenton. It's just not that far. And all of Israel, from Tel Aviv south is a desert. People forget that as well. So yeah, Beersheba is hot in the summer, but if any of you have been there in the summer, all of Israel is hot, except when you get up into the mountains of the Galil.
But
And one more
Beersheba, if you
que-
want to go for a beer here at night, it's nice.
Oh, it's
not as
beautiful.
hot.
One more question. Where does Beersheba get its water from?
Oh, as much of Israel, the Israel water carrier actually started in the early 60s by bringing water south originally from the Kinneret, the Sea of Galilee. However, now what we did at JNF starting 20 years ago, we recognized before the Israeli government candidly about the water crisis. So now 15% of Israel's water resources come from reservoirs that JNF USA spearheaded and built. So and the third source, of course, is now the desalinization plants, which is made a huge difference for Israel to address what was a water shortage. And now, as you all may know, Israel is actually an exporter of water to the Palestinians and the Jordanians. We export water. That's where the water comes from. So there's no shortage of water in the desert.
Thank
And
you.
the other thing I'll point out is Israel is also the world leader in using recycled water. Spain is number 2 at about 20%. Israel recycles over 80% of its water.
I see that someone asks about the branches of Judaism here in synagogues. So the answer is yes. Hi. In Beersheba, you can really find today, you can start to find more and more branches of synagogues here. It used to be a very Masorti town, old Mizrahi Masorti Jewish communities, and still they are very present, but you also have more now ultra-Orthodox communities, and you also have Reform and conservative in Beersheba. So really it's just becoming this blooming, diverse city in all regards, in all aspects.
Yeah, my own experience in that regard is because Beersheba is becoming a younger city, meaning people are staying from Ben Gurion and living there. People are moving from the center for jobs and the life. It's much more of a liberal city in that regard. So it's more open to reformed and conservative movements than, frankly, up north. Anyone else?
Yes, hi. I'm with Sheldon.
Hi there.
Hi, I'm Eleanor, and I go back to the days when my mother had that little blue box right as you walked in and out of the house. And I just wonder, boy, would I still love to have it. They're probably worth something, I think. And what a good idea to distribute them again in houses. Do you?
Absolutely, we do.
You still have
Absolutely,
the
we
blue
do.
boxes?
Absolutely. Yep.
I still have my blue box. I have
Do you
several
really?
of them. I can give you one.
Okay, where do you live? Mine,
I'll give it to the rabbi and he can give it to you.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
There are many ways to support JNF. When my daughter had a bar mitzvah for her son, she had JNF certificates for each guest and on each table.
How nice.
And that was the water project at that time.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, all of you may remember JNF with the little pushkas or the little cards where we put our quarters in to buy the trees. And that's what we were. We were all about trees. We still are. Israel is the only country in the world that ended the 20th century with more trees than when it started. And I'd like to think that JNF had something to do with that, and all of you did. But we're so much more now. I mean, in short, between our housing projects, working with people with disabilities, creating opportunities with people with disabilities in parks and recreation areas, working with Tamar and her group to enhance the life of Israelis and the job opportunities, as well as what we do with water resources. I mean, it's really true when I tell people that JNF, we touch every Israeli every day from the time they wake up to the time they go to sleep. because they turn on the water and we were there with them. They go to the parks and we were there with them. They go for their jobs. We help them get them. They may go home to a community that we help build and we're there with them. And then when they brush their teeth to go to sleep, we're there with them again. And that's what JNF does. We help Israel, and our educational department and our World Zionist Village is going to ensure that there's that next generation of Zionists to do what all of us are doing and what we all want to see become of the Jewish people.
Actually, Tamar, I have a quick question. If in terms of you talk about the post-grad internships for college graduates, and you're focusing on the cyber world. You know, are there other careers that people can do some work experience in for internships, or is it just on the technology side?
So it's also on biomedical. That's the first thing. And we're also now in the process of working with BGU to see how we can also have some maybe other programs in other fields as well. What we've been thinking about is how do we get, for example, an NYU film graduate an opportunity here in the South? Where would we place him? And there are a lot of different opportunities, because first of all, he can come and do films and rebranding, you know, videos and things like that for high-tech companies themselves, but also for the other local authorities and municipalities in the Negev, other nonprofits in the Negev. You know, I think that it could be an incredible opportunity to come and do a whole marketing package for the colleges in the South and trying to get them here, or rebranding the Negev for architects, let's say, as an example, to get them to move from Tel Aviv to the South. And that's just, I mean, that can be marketing, it can be film, it can be art, I mean, it can be a lot of different things, but we're still, I mean, there are 5 more years. And so the job market is changing rapidly. We're thinking about many different possibilities, whether it's maybe training in tech, some short-term boot camps, things like that. There is a huge variety, but really the job market is changing, and we will continue with focus groups. We've been doing, JNF has been holding focus groups in the United States over the last couple of years to learn what college students want, to hear what young adults are saying about their first steps in their careers. And also over here on my side, we've been doing these focus groups with the companies and the employers, and definitely we're talking to the municipalities, to nonprofits, to medical centers, things like that. So the answer is yes, we'll see. And while I have the microphone, I'll also answer the Rosenthals about train services and in general, just hybrid employment today. So the answer is absolutely yes. The train here is incredible. It is 1 hour and 6 minutes from the center of Tel Aviv to the center of Beersheba. Every 30 minutes or an hour, there's a train coming through here. So really the train is not a problem. There's a lot of commuting going on. Also from the Negev to Tel Aviv, which as much as I would like everyone to work in the Negev, it's more important to me that they live in the Negev, send their kids to school in the Negev, shop in the Negev, pay taxes in the Negev, and work in Tel Aviv, taking the train or working from home. I think that is, again, if we're talking about what builds community, what builds the viability of a region, then I think it's living here. And that's the first thing. And the second thing is, yes, more people are now doing the train, living in Tel Aviv, because that's where, you know, they've been for the last X number of years, and they're working here in tech. Slowly, you'll see more and more Army career soldiers who are now working in the IDF, serving in the IDF in the South, moving with their families here because their work here is here, and it's less pricey here, and it's quieter here, and it's really more serene. The beat, I mean, I used to live in New York when I was in high school. My mom's a diplomat, so I was in New York for high school, and the buzz is incredible. The energy in the streets, like I remember 42nd and 2nd, you know, crossing the street as a, you know, like you feel the blood pumping. But living there would be hard for me at this point. And I think that for many young families, they're looking for a place with a backyard for their kids to play in. And Beersheba and the Negev can offer that. And Tel Aviv's high rises are super cool, but not right for everyone. So trains and job opportunities and housing opportunities are really making this move possible today.
Anybody else?
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the playground that you have developed, the indoor playground for the children?
Sure, I can do that. What she was referring to is the indoor playground in Sderot. This goes back about 15 years ago, and I'm sure you've all heard, as you all know, Sderot is on the Gaza border. And when the terrorists in Gaza would shoot off rockets, the children have 15 seconds from the time the alert would go off, the sirens would go off to get to a safe shelter. What that really meant is for years, children never played outside. Think about that. You have a 5-year-old, and that 5-year-old has never played in a park, because if they go to the park, the siren goes off, there's no shelter. So what we did is we took an old abandoned, I say JNF USA, we took an old abandoned warehouse, and if I took a few minutes, I could find some pictures on my computer for you. But we found a warehouse in Sderot, we reinforced it, and now it's an indoor playground that has in the corners, as well as other places, safe, secure bomb shelters, which are brightly colored. And they're now used, those bomb shelters are used for birthday parties and other life events for the families of Sderot. But inside, there's an indoor playground with a basketball court, a rock climbing wall, places to play ball in there, play soccer inside. So it's an indoor playground. And you can just imagine what it was like for the families of Sderot to finally have a place where their children can go and be safe and play with other children. Made a huge difference. We were really proud to do that. And another example of trying to help Israel and making sure that Israelis have what they need to live safe, secure, happy lives. And that's what we at JNF are trying to do. Thank you, Sheila.
It was very impressive.
Thank you.
I mean, one section was a music room.
Yeah,
another
right.
section was for preschoolers and toddlers, and each area was for another type of activity and another age group.
Right. Yeah. Everything from basketball to rock climbing to a small little soccer area. Exactly. As well as a little area with those little balls that kids can bounce on. So, yeah, it was quite an accomplishment. Very proud of it. Anything else?
Well, when on my last trip to Israel, we took a one-day JNF trip down to the desert, and they took us, and we were very impressed with the recycled water and with the purple pipes.
Yep.
And the abundance of flowering and trees. It was just amazing. Just
I was just wondering if you could show us a map of where the Musk campus, or where the proposed campus will be in Beersheba. I lived there like 6 years ago when it was a quarter the size that it is now.
Well, because I think if I pull up the screen again, it gives you a little bit of is my screen up? Is my screen up?
Yep. Yes.
Great. So what you're looking at is, you can see in the background, downtown Beersheba, and Tamar, you can probably help me better with the directions where it is, but to give a little reference point.
Yeah.
It's right behind the amphitheater. Now, as you look up to the amphitheater towards downtown, the campus is right behind us.
Right, so what you see, so we are on the eastern side. We're now looking west to Beersheba. So you can see we're looking southwest to Beersheba. The north and Beersheba are over there. The old city should be around over here, if I'm not mistaken. Exactly over here. And so the university will be about, it will be kind of north, but also a little more to the east. The university and the hospital will be a little more to the north and to the east. If I can see correctly,
Oh, that's right.
Ragel Street here. So here, these two, I think, I'm like showing with my cursor and no one can see it. Nice, Tamar. So if you can see the two buildings on the far right, exactly a little more left, then that is actually closer. No, just where you were, a little to the right, exactly there. Okay, these two buildings are now closer to the entrance of the city from the north. And that's kind of what you see around you. Very, very, very central location. Where Joe is showing, it's a very, very central location. And everything around the Beersheba campus, the Zionist Park, is this developing area. So what you see around you is the Cinema City. There's also now Yes Planet. And most importantly, the most important point that we need to say, it's very close to IKEA. So ever since there's an IKEA in Beersheba, we really know that we have, our place on the map. So it's this whole area that's now developing. And it's very important to say, it's very close to the park. There is now a whole new neighborhood with 2,000 families that are going to be moving there very soon, that is now being populated. Very close to the park.
Just to the right.
Exactly.
Just to the right,
So
where we're going.
the whole area is, if we look 5-10 years from today, I'm sure that, it will be a whole new region of Beersheba that's now developing. The Beersheba municipality is now also starting to open the schools in this new neighborhood. So really populating it's really starting to come in. The current population of Beersheba, I see another question. It's about 230,000 residents in Beersheba, and in the Negev there's about 800,000 or 850,000, where about 1/3 of them are Bedouin, and the rest are Jews.
So I want to be respectful of everyone's time here today. I see we're just about at 11:30, but I want to thank you all, first of all, for taking the time to speak with us. I hope you learned something about what our plans are, not just for the World Zionist Village, but for Negev and Beersheba in general, because this is just a piece of what we're doing. Nothing stands alone at JNF USA. We have a vision which transcends any one individual initiative we have, because they all work together. That's why, although I'm here to talk about the Zionist Village, it's so important that I work with Tamar. And when I go to Beersheba, I see Tamar. And Tamar, it's going on almost 2 years. And I can't wait to get back.
When is that going to happen, Joe?
I'm hoping first quarter we'll be back.
You know what we say? Yalla.
Yeah.
Yalla.
So let me thank you all. And as always, Tamar, let me thank you for what you do, because what you do is transformative and the results are just incredible. So thank you. And thank you all.
Thank you, Joe, so much for everything that you do for us over here, and thank you to the whole community here that joined us today. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you, Rabbi, for organizing.
Thank you very much.
Sheila, would you like to say something to conclude? You're muted, Sheila.
Okay. Yes, I would like to thank our speakers for a wonderful, wonderful presentation, and your enthusiasm is unbelievable. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
We have other events, I think, coming up for our Israel engagement program later on in the year, so please stay tuned. And yeah, I just want to echo that for Joe and Tamar and Beverly, just the amount of pure ruach, pure excitement about what you're doing and sense of meaning and purpose is just really, really powerful. And so I want
I
to
would
thank.
like to turn the program over to Bev Gutterman for a few minutes. She wants to share some additional information with us. Bev? And
Thank
Bev
you.
has been very instrumental in getting our speakers. So thank you so much, Bev.
Thank you. I'm just going to share. We have in a couple of weeks, we have our annual Breakfast for Israel. The JNF is quite well known for this, and we are doing 2 this year. And this first one is coming up in a couple of weeks on Tuesday, November 30th. I'm just sharing it on the screen there. I put the link to register in the chat. And this one's a virtual breakfast, and we have we'd love you to sign up for it. It's totally free. It's on Tuesday, November 30th between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. And the keynote speaker is a New York Times best-selling author and award-winning journalist, Yossi Klein Halevi, and he is a senior fellow at the Shalom Hartman Institute in Jerusalem, and he actually co-directs a really interesting program that teaches emerging young Muslim American leaders about Judaism, Jewish identity, and Israel. He's in some groundbreaking work, and we would love you to join us. So I just wanted to put a quick commercial out there for that. And if you would like more information, you can be in touch with myself or Rabbi Rudin, and I put the link in the chat, and I'll make sure we get something emailed out to all of you after this program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting us. It sounds exciting.
All right, thank you very much. Toda Rabba. I feel like we should sing Hatikva to end, but everyone can sing on their own, and it was really, really beautiful. Just a quick question, Tamar, what's the temperature in Beersheba right now?
Who's good with converting 19 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit?
That's like
Let's
what?
see.
The 70s?
19 Celsius Fahrenheit.
It's about 70 degrees Fahrenheit.
That sounds nice. That sounds nice. We're looking for a cold winter in New Jersey. So thank you very, very much.
Bye. Have a good evening.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.